Hey guys, welcome back to our stuff. This week I'm making some honeycomb hexagon shelves, which look a bit like this. If you like the sound of that, stick around. Remember, while this intro is on, drop me a like and subscribe to my channel. So, as always, I'll be going through the processes, materials, that sort of thing, as I'm going along. But first job on my list is to cut some wood. So let's turn around and get to the chop saw. Before I go to the chop saw though, just tell you about the materials I'm using. To make this, I'm using some pine. This is just some pine board that I got from the local DIY store. You could obviously use hardwood, might look better with hardwood, but I'm going to use pine because it's cheap, readily available, and I can paint it and stain it in whatever way that I want. In order to get a hexagon, you need 6 sides. That's just how hexagons work. And each of the angles on the ends of my bits of wood need to be 30 degrees, because again, that's how hexagons work. So I'm going to be cutting those on my table saw. So I'm going to flip my blade to 30 degrees, run past those through, remembering to flip my board each time. If you haven't got one of those, you could do it on a chop saw, which is just over here out of camera shot. Other than that, you could probably try and rig something up on something else, but those two are the easiest things to cut this on. So let's have a look. First up at the table saw is setting the angle of the blade, and as I mentioned, I am tilting this to 30 degrees because that will give me my angle that I need to make a hexagon. And I'm using my digital angle finder or digital level to try and get as accurate as possible so that they all fit together nicely. To make cutting all the pieces really easy for myself, I've just modified one of my table saws I'd used to cut some 45-degree angles previously. And I'm just running all the bits through the table saw, remembering to flip over each time so that the angles are all on the inside. If you don't do that, you'll end up with bits you can't use. And I just keep cutting using the sled until I've got enough to make 6 hexagons. So that's 36 sides. For the assembly, I've retreated to my kitchen so I can lay out all the pieces. My workshop isn't quite wide enough. But essentially, I've laid all 6 pieces that will make up one hexagon end on end. And then I'm using some duct tape to stick all those pieces together. I can then flip that all over, put some glue in the joins and roll it all up. And then the duct tape acts as the clamp. And for these, because they're not really load bearing, that'll be plenty enough force to make them stick together nicely. Once they're all dry, you can remove the tape and then get to sanding, so any of the glue that's squeezed out or any bits of the tape that stayed on there, or just any bits that you want to just tidy up. So I'm using a bit of hand sandpaper here, but you can use your orbital sander or any electric sanders you might have to make this easier. I decided that I wanted to make one solid unit out of all of the hexagons, so I was going to stick them together using wood glue. So I am marking which sides will stick to which sides so that I don't paint them, so that I get the best chance of getting a good stick. And once I've done that, I can go on and paint them before sticking them together. So I'm just using some white paint or some satin wood paint on 3 of them, and I'm going for a walnut stain on the other 3. Once the paint is dry, it's just the second part of the assembly. So I'm taking each of the individual hexagons, putting some glue on the side that I didn't paint, and then using all the clamps that I own to clamp them all together. You notice the one on the far left has got a, I forgot to paint one of the edges, but I caught that later and painted it. And then just keep going until they're all together, and I can just lay those aside to dry. Once it all dried, I took off all the clamps, did any touching up I needed to do,
And then I could give it a spray over with some clear lacquer. That's just to give it a bit of protection when I'm taking things on and off the shelves. This is going in my spare room that I've been decorating over the last few videos. And it's going on the stud wall, so I'm just marking where the studs are, using a level to mark where I want to put the shelves, and then lining up the studs with the back of the unit so that I can drill some holes in the wall for some screws, and then put some picture hooks on the back of the unit so that I can put it on the wall. And once on the wall, it's just a case of filling it up with odds and ends, cactuses and the like. And that is that done.
So we have it, end of another day here on Matt Stuff. That was some hexagon honeycomb shelves. I'm pretty pleased with those. All that's left to do is to celebrate with a beer. And today I've got an Arbor Cafe Creme, which is a coffee chocolate stout. I think I might have had this one before. Still delicious though. Remember, you stay safe, get some stuff done.